Most women panic when they start shedding hair after birth. And I am here today to talk about why it happens and what you can do about it. And so if you are pregnant, if you are going to be giving birth soon, then you absolutely want to stay tuned because I'm going to give you a full game plan on how to handle it so you're not freaking out thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going bald and I don't know what to do. After today's live, you will know exactly what to do. With that being said, my name is Stephanie Poole. I am a certified doula and lactation consultant. I specialize in helping first moms motherhood by preparing for their birth and breastfeeding journey with confidence. And so if that is you, then you are absolutely in the right place. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Please drop your name and where you're joining from below so that I can get to know you. You can get to know me. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments because I am happy to answer them at the end. All right, so let's just hop right into it. Let's talk about postpartum shedding. And first of all, like what's happening? Why is your hair shedding? Especially, so let me kind of back up. What normally happens is after giving birth, moms will, do their regular maintenance or routine concerning their hair, and they'll notice that it's just coming out. It's just coming out excessively, like in droves, and they immediately kind of panic and get worried because it's a lot. So let's start by just kind of helping you to understand why your hair is shedding after birth. So during birth, your body is high in what's called estrogen, which is a type of hormone that is needed to support your pregnancy. And what happens is throughout the pregnancy, you have an enormous amount of that, right? And so that is where that glow and, your hair is looking shiny and all that kind of stuff. That's where it comes from, having those hormones in place. Well, after you give birth, there's a sharp decline in that hormone and other hormones, really. As a matter of fact, I think I mentioned it on the live I did earlier this week that research shows that after birth, a woman has the sharpest drop in hormones that anyone ever experiences, period, throughout a lifetime. It happens after birth. There's a sharp decline. So your body is going from pregnancy, right, back to pre-pregnancy status. And in the first few days after giving birth, it drops off very sharply. And then what happens is it will slowly continue to decline, but in a more slower way. So you don't have as sharp of a decline. So when you have that drop off, right, that is what causes a shedding of your hair. And it's important that you understand that because, there's not anything you can do to prevent that drop off. You're going from supporting your baby or your body and growing a full baby to just recovery and healing and supporting your body again. So it's just a natural process that happens. And so there's no need for you to get concerned after you give birth if like you're washing your hair and then you notice like a lot of it is coming out. It is completely normal. So let me just now kind of move into, well, how long is this shedding gonna last? Because I know that will likely be a question that you have, right? Like, so I can expect to shed hair after giving birth, but how long is this gonna last? Well, for most women, it lasts anywhere from 3 to 6 months. But There are some women where it lasts almost up to a year. Now, I will say this, typically, just like that hormonal drop off is pretty sharp at the beginning, most of the shedding is sharp the closer to your pregnancy you are. And then as time goes on, speaking, even if it lasts a little longer, it's usually not so much or as much as it was in the beginning when you first gave birth. So that's important to note too. And like I mentioned, the normal time frame is typically 3 to 6 months, but it could last up to a year. In some women that may be the case. Okay, but it's all still totally normal. Now, let's talk about, because I'm reviewing my notes here, let's just talk about, what are ways that you can minimize or help to reduce some of that shedding, right? So if the shedding is caused by these hormones and how your body is trying to adjust to its pre-pregnancy state, let's talk about what we can do to kind of mitigate some of that hair loss, right? The first thing you want to consider is your nutrition. Why? Because your body has to be able to support growth, right? If you are lacking in certain nutrients or vitamins, minerals, those kinds of things, then you will not only see the loss, but as you start to build, you won't necessarily see the growth. It'll just kind of be enough to maintain, right? So if you want to actually like regrow that hair that's going to shed after birth, then you need to be mindful of your nutrition. And what that looks like is paying attention to making sure that you're getting in proteins, proteins, iron, and biotin. Those are the top three that's really going to help support and facilitate that hair growth as you are trying to rebalance your body after birth. Okay. Now, when we talk about proteins, iron, and biotin, it's also important to talk about maybe some foods that you can try to incorporate into your daily diet. Those would be things like eggs, salmon, leafy greens, and nuts. So all of those, including others, there's other sources that you can absolutely pull from as well. But those are food choices that you can use to really build up those protein, iron, and biotin reserves in your body, which will then help to regrow some of that hair that you shed after birth. Now, there's two other elements I want to just quickly talk about in regards to nutrition. Number one is to also talk to your doctor about a prenatal vitamin, because oftentimes it is recommended that you continue to take a daily prenatal vitamin to help supplement as your body is reacclimating back to pre-pregnancy, right? So that's number one. Number two is to also and I say this in all my videos, hydration is important. And why do I say it in so many of my videos? Because it is imperatives to support you while you're pregnant, right? There's your blood volume is higher when you're pregnant. That is a direct effect of your hydration, your level of hydration. Also, your amniotic fluid is impacted by how hydrated you are. And so these are things you want to be mindful of, right? And I mention that all the time in my videos. But another reason why is to condition you to be to normalize drinking and staying hydrated for postpartum. Your body actually needs that hydration to help with healing and recovery and that postpartum hair shedding. So it all kind of builds one right on top of the other. It's so important. So the first factor I want you to consider is your nutrition. The second one is having or doing regular scalp massages. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. We need to, after you have the baby and you have this postpartum shedding, in order to minimize it, right? One of the things you can do is to stimulate the blood. And what I recommend is using like a rosemary oil, diluting that in a carrier oil, something like jojoba, because jojoba oil helps to mimic some of the natural oils that occur naturally in your skin. So it's a good pairing anytime you're applying oil to the skin. Jojoba oil is a great carrier oil. There's others as well, but it's just my go-to. So I would say taking a few drops of the peppermint or rosemary oil and mixing it with the carrier, and then applying that to the scalp and doing a massage often and regular. This helps to stimulate that blood flow so that we can go ahead and get some of that new growth coming back in. Okay, so that is number 2. Number 3 is to ditch the harsh products. Why is that important? It's important because parabens and sulfates make the hair weaker. And when you're already vulnerable, right, because those hormones are dropping, we need to really fortify and strengthen what is there. What is there and what is left. We don't want it to be weak. We don't want it to be brittle. And so ditching those harsh chemicals can really play a part in that. That's number 3. Number 4 is, again, postpartum supplements, which is prenatal vitamins. And this is something you want to definitely talk to your doctor about so that they can give you a good recommendation. They will likely keep you on what you've already been on during pregnancy, but they could potentially switch it up based on how you're recovering postpartum. Right? A lot of times what they will recommend will also include lots of biotin and collagen. Why? Because those help to support that postpartum recovery, especially to minimize that hair shedding. And so if your prenatal vitamin doesn't already include that, you want to talk to your provider about adding those supplements to your daily regimen to help build that supplemental growth that you need while you're trying to regrow your postpartum hair shedding or minimize your postpartum hair shedding. The 5th one is to protect your hair while you're sleeping. So it's very important that what you have that is not shedding, that you are actively seeking to protect it. And that could mean wearing protective styles. It could mean having a silk pillowcase or some kind of protective way of protecting your hair while you're sleeping. We spend a lot of time sleeping every night, hours and hours, right? And so if your hair is already shedding, we want to do whatever we can do to minimize that hair loss. Okay, so just to briefly recap some of the points that we covered today. Number 1 was nutrition, making sure that your body is healing and recovering well by getting lots of protein, iron, and biotin. And another one I'm going to stick in because of the supplements we just talked about is collagen as well. And remembering to try and get that in through your food intake with leafy greens, salmon, nuts. There's other food choices as well, but remembering to take that in to help really balance your postpartum recovery, which is going to help with that hair shedding. Number 2 is those scalp massages that we talked about, making sure that you're doing them consistently and often. Number 3, to ditch those harsh hair products. So things that have parabens and sulfates, we don't want to use that. That makes your hair a lot weaker. And in your vulnerable state, we want to really try and fortify what is there so it's not breaking off in addition to shedding. as well as number 4, postpartum supplements. We talked about taking in your prenatal vitamin, talking with your doctor, and asking what other supplements you can add to that. So asking your doctor about biotin, collagen, those types of supplements will really be helpful in terms of minimizing the postpartum shedding and helping with new growth or regrowth as well. Finally, we talked about just protecting your hair during sleep. That is very important. Those 5 components alone will help to reduce and minimize your postpartum shedding. They will also help to regrow, especially you'll hear around the edges where a lot of moms will, lose hair right around the edges. It will help to regrow and facilitate that growth cycle to get you back into a surplus, right? And not to operate from a deficit. I know that shedding your hair is kind of a scary experience, especially if you're in the shower or, you're doing your self-care and then you start looking and there's clumps of hair there. So I know how scary it can be, which is why I really wanted to go live and kind of discuss some of this with you today. Tips are really helpful in terms of helping you to, first of all, be mindful that this is going to happen. Sometimes just knowing about it up front is super helpful. And then also being mindful enough to have a game plan, right? To go forward is super important as well. So I hope that you guys can use this as a springboard to really helping in that postpartum recovery phase. Let me see. Hello, Nicole. Oh, good. Yeah, Nicole says that she didn't have any shedding. And I mean, like I wish everybody's story was that way because it can be very traumatic to experience it. But now you have a game plan and now you know how to move forward. If this was helpful, please give this live a like so that other moms can see this, other pregnant women can know what to expect after giving birth and have a game plan, right, for regrowing their hair and minimizing that postpartum shedding. So please share this with other mom-to-bees that could find this information helpful. Also, there are a few ways that you can work with me. Number 1, I'm going to say subscribe to the channel because I post consistently every week to help you along your pregnancy, birth, and postpartum journey. So that's number 1. Number 2, I have links in the description on ways that you can work with me personally. If you would like to have a customized birth plan, that link is in the description box below, as well as my link to a few courses that I have to help you step by step. My strategy is always to give you step by step direction and guidance on how to get through this pregnancy so that you can birth and breastfeed with confidence. And so if that is something that you are looking for, then check the links in the description. With that being said, thank you so much for joining me today. And until next time, happy birthing. Bye, y'all.